and welcome to the webinar PR Kickstart, Create Your PR Plan for 2012. My name is Larochelle, and I will guide you through the presentation today. This webinar is being recorded, so to keep a good quality of sound, your lines have been muted. But if you have any questions, please use the message box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Before we get started, let me tell you briefly about us. So our agency, Dennis Ratso Public Relations, is made of 4 team members that you can see there on your screen. We work with a whole range of different clients in different industries, and what we do essentially is help them stand out in the corporate jungle. So every company has a good story to tell, and what we do is help them tell their story. There's so much noise out there. You need to stand out if you want to cut through the clutter and make sure your customers hear about you and eventually buy your products or your services. So I'll tell you a little bit more about public relations in a minute, but this is who our agency is. And this is me, Larochelle. I am a PR mentor. I'm passionate about educating and mentoring people on all aspects of public relations. But I have a particular interest in helping small business owners understand how they can use public relations for their business. So this whole webinar series, of which today is the first session, is part of this effort of making public relations more accessible to the small business market. So that tells you a little bit more about who we are. Now let's have a look at what we're going to go through today, a bit of an outline. So to start with, we'll look at what is public relations, then the elements of a PR plan, what should be included in there. And then we're going to go through each of these elements, starting with setting the PR objectives or public relations objectives. We'll look at your target audiences, how to identify them. Then we'll look at creating strong and impactful key messages for your business. We'll then look at the whole PR toolbox, so the different initiatives you can put in place to promote your business. And last but not least, we'll look at the public relations plan structure, and I'll give you a good example of that. So let's get started. First of all, let's look briefly at what public relations actually is. As I mentioned previously, there's a lot of information and competition in the marketplace. So it's really important for organizations like yours to stand out. You need to be different, be the apple among the oranges from that photo. Give your customers a reason to go to you rather than going to your competitors. That's essentially what you're trying to do on a day-to-day basis. So how does public relations actually help you stand out? It helps you by using effective, consistent, and continuous communication. Let me explain. It's effective because we use the right messages for the right target market and the right channels of communication. Then there needs to be consistency in the communication that is put out there about your organization so that people associate various initiatives you're doing to the one and only business. So, for example, if they hear about your business on radio and then have a look at your Facebook page and go on your website, there needs to be a consistency of language being used everywhere so that people can go, oh, yeah, this is that business, I remember now. And last but not least, it's only through continuously being in touch with your target market that your efforts will actually have an impact. It's really through that repetition, through reading about you, hearing about you over and over again, that your customers will start remembering about you. So it's very important to keep that communication going on a consistent basis. So this effective, consistent, and continuous communication will lead to raised awareness of your organization, and that happens over time. Public relations is not a quick fix. The same way that communication is not a quick fix. You need to keep communicating with your potential customers over time for it to have an impact. Let me show you a diagram here that explains this a little bit further. So if we look at the impact public relations can have on your business, we see that by making your business more visible in the marketplace through, for example, media coverage, social media interactions, and so on, we create greater awareness for your business. And then by using the right messages in those communications put out there, you can also increase understanding or comprehension about your products, your services, your philosophy, your brand, everything that you stand for. And that's only when people can actually start forming an opinion about your organization, an attitude. And that attitude, whether it's positive or negative, will actually impact on their behavior. So the behavior to buy or not to buy your products and services. And obviously, that has an impact on your bottom line, on those business results. So if we want to make all this happen, we need a communication plan or a public relations plan. So what actually is in a public relations plan? First, you need to have a budget in mind, because this is going to impact on what actually you're going to do. If you have, obviously, a greater budget, you might be able to do more things. Then a PR plan includes the objectives of your program, your target audiences, some key messages for those target audiences, the PR activities or public relations activities, and these include the channels you will use, the strategies, the tactics. Then you need a timeline and some evaluation methods to make sure that you're reaching your objectives. So I'm going to go through each of these in more detail, starting with the objectives. So the first step in putting a public relations plan together is to identify your objectives. What are you actually trying to achieve? What's your big picture? What's your goal? It's really important to have this clear in your mind. Otherwise, how are you going to know that you've achieved what you wanted to achieve? So you can ask yourself a few questions to help you set your objectives. And the first one is, who are my target audiences? Who am I trying to reach out to? Who do I want to influence? Is it my customers, my staff, my suppliers, my sources of referral, my partners, my distributors? Who actually is it? And once you've identified those, ask yourself, what do they actually think or feel about my brand, my organization, my products, my services? Right now, what do they think and feel? The next question to ask yourself is, what do they know? So they think and feel a certain thing, but they might know different things. And are these things actually correct? Are they appropriate in terms of what your business wants them to know? The next question is, how are they currently acting towards or interacting with my business? And once you've identified all these answers, what do you actually want to change or achieve? What do you want them to think or know about your products and services? How would you like them to interact with your brand? And very important, when do you want to achieve your objectives by? So all these questions will really help you note out what your PR objectives should be for your business. So if I come back to the image I showed you before, the objectives will normally be related to outputs, outcomes, or business results. So I'll show you examples for each type of objectives. Starting with output. The output objectives are focused on the results of a specific activity. For example, by the end of June 2012, to increase my Facebook likes from 200 to 1,000. Another example could be by the end of 2012, to reach out to 2 million people through media coverage about my business, or to have 5 articles published about my business. So these objectives are very quantitative, and they come as a straightforward result of a specific activity you're doing. On the other hand, outcome objectives are more qualitative. So it's about raising awareness or understanding of your organization. For example, let's pretend I'm a health and well-being center and I offer meditation classes. My target market is working moms in my local community. So through talking with them and talking with my clients, I realized that these working moms don't really understand why they should take another hour of their already very busy day to come and meditate at my center. So my objective becomes to raise awareness of the health benefits of meditation among working moms in my community over the next 6 months. So this is very qualitative, and it's all about the awareness and the understanding you want to create about your business or your services. Last but not least, objectives that are based on business results are, for example, to add $500,000 in PR attributable sales in 2012. Now, to be able to measure an objective like this, you need to have a very detailed sales process with leads that are qualified in terms of where they come from. And even then, someone may have read about your business in the newspaper, so through public relations, and then they decided to Google your business name. And then you might ask them, how did you find out about us? And the answer is probably going to be, I just Googled your business name. And they completely forgot that in the first place, they were made aware of your business through media coverage, so through public relations. So you see how a direct link between public relations and the bottom line is very difficult to measure and prove. So these are a few examples for you to take on board in terms of setting your PR objectives. The next element of a PR plan, public relations plan, is your target audiences. You need to know who obviously you want to reach out to. Who's your ideal client, for example? There are different types of target audiences, and they're not always going to be your customers. It could be your staff, your partners, your associates, your suppliers, your sources of referrals or shareholders, distributors. The list is really broad. So ask yourself who you're trying to influence. In terms of your target audiences, you also want to look at their gender, their age, their socioeconomic background, where they live. Their interests might be relevant as well. The more precise you can be in terms of identifying your target audiences, the more detailed and specific you'll be able to be with your public relations activities. And obviously, therefore, they're also going to be more impactful. So it's very important. A couple of examples of target audiences. It could be that you're trying to reach out to CEOs of companies with a turnover between $10 and $20 million located in Australia. Or it could be that you're trying to reach out to active working men between 25 and 40 years old living in Brisbane Metro, because you've got a gym in Brisbane and you're targeting mainly men around that age. So the third step in putting a PR plan together is to develop your key messages. Key messages are clear, concise, consistent description of your organization. So they're not a slogan or an advertising pitch. They're really factual statements about your business, your products, or your services. And they're those statements that you would like your target audiences to remember about your business. So different target audiences may require different key messages. For example, if you have a franchise system of health clubs, you might like to have a key message for potential franchisees. And that key message would be about the work-life balance and freedom a franchise owner can gain by joining your system. But your key message for your customers would be totally different. They would revolve around the variety of equipment or classes you offer, or how safe or clean your clubs are, for example. So you need to be tailoring your key messages depending on your target audiences. And what do you actually do with these key messages? You use them everywhere. They should be on your website, in your corporate material, in your media releases, in your e-newsletters, any promotion you're doing. And the reason for that is I explained before that public relations, how it works is through effective, consistent, and continuous communication. Well, those key messages help in terms of that consistency of key messages, because you're describing your business in using the same language over and over again in all different places, like your website, your corporate material, and so on and so forth. You're creating that consistency which people can relate to. Once you have your objectives, target audiences, and key messages for each of your target audiences, you're ready to think of effective public relations activities to promote your business. And that's really my favorite part, because that's when you can be creative and think about really the best way to get out there. That's the fun part, really. So I'm going to go through what I call the PR toolbox. So they're all the initiatives you could think of doing to get your key messages out to your target audiences. The first one is the one that most people think of when they think of public relations, and that's media coverage. So media coverage is an article or an interview that you haven't had to pay for. The journalist decided to write or talk about your business because it is newsworthy. It's relevant and interesting for their readers or viewers. So it's not advertising. You haven't paid for it. Media coverage has a lot more credibility than advertising, because people know that when they see an ad, that the company actually controlled every word that was on that ad. So people buy the newspaper, for example, to read the news, not to read the ads. So media coverage has a lot more credibility. And there are many, many ways to gain media coverage, such as using case studies, surveys, thought leadership articles, launching a new product, having an event, and many more. I'll be actually talking about these means of gaining media coverage and how to liaise with journalists and how to write a media release at our next week's webinar. And I'll give you the details at the end of this webinar. There are quite a few opportunities online. In the past few years, online has really boomed, and it's fantastic for business, and particularly for small businesses, because they are very cost-effective and they're, say, cheap means of promoting your business online. First and foremost, with your website. It's your shop front to the world. So you have to make sure that it's as effective as it can be. Then social media. For most of it, it's free, which is brilliant. And it's a great way to generate engagement with your target audiences. I'll be speaking about website and social media, that is LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, in upcoming webinars, and I'll mention that as well at the end. Blogs are excellent to showcase your expertise. And e-newsletters, they're just a fantastic way to stay in touch with your target audiences on a regular basis. So these are some of the ways to get your business out there online. The next tool in our toolbox is awards. So winning an award is like giving your business a stamp of approval. Awards add credibility to a business because someone else has decided you deserve this recognition. And have a look around you. There may be various awards in your industry, or there's quite a few business awards, or there could be also some local awards where you could enter your business. And it could be that your customers have to vote for you as well. So have a bit of a look around. And you know, when you win an award, it's a fantastic opportunity to try and gain some media coverage about it. So you can actually make the most of it. The next activity on the list is events. Events are twofold. You can participate in events such as expos and trade shows, and that really helps you get in touch in front of your target audience. Or you can create your own events. For example, if you offer, say, business consulting services, you might like to hold breakfast seminars on various business-related topics. And you could invite your clients and potential clients and ask your clients to bring a contact. So it's a really great way to showcase your expertise. You could also, another way of creating an event is you could partner up with a complementary service to yours to add more value to your event. So let me give you an example. I have a couple of clients. One of them is a chiropractor, and the other one is an energy healer. And they decided to hold a well-being seminar together. So the benefit of that is they could combine their efforts. Obviously, there were two of them to promote their seminar, but they could also combine their database, which is brilliant. So they could go out to a bigger target market. And so it was a very cost-effective means for them of putting their message out there. And it was really successful. They ended up running more than one seminar. So that's one thing to look at. How can you partner up with to provide more value to your clients? Next activity is sponsorship. So have a look in your local community, for example. There could be some local sports team you could sponsor, or a charity, or an event, or an award. And sponsorship doesn't always mean giving your dollar. It could be that you offer your services or your products for free, for example. So have a look at that, because sponsorship can really help create goodwill for your business. Next is networking. So building connections is very important to any business. So networking should definitely be part of your initiatives. It could be a network in your industry or a business network, for example, the local chamber of commerce as well. So have a look at what's around and then pick the ones that would be the best for your business. Speaking opportunities, like speaking at an event like a local chamber of commerce or a trade event or business function or a show, for example, they're a great way of building up your credibility as an expert in your field. It's someone else who said, we really like what you're doing and how you're presenting, and we'd like you to come present in front of our group. So you, again, there have that stamp of approval. And from that speaking opportunity, you may be able to get some media coverage. You may be able to create an article based on what you're going to speak about, or announce that you're going to be speaking at an event. Issues management. If there are risks within your organization that could lead to negative media coverage, then these potential risks, the potential issues, have to be identified. And they have to be identified early so that you can react really quickly if something bad happens. And key messages have to be developed for each of these issues. So issue management is very important in public relations, particularly for those organizations in high risk, like, for example, the food industry or the airlines, for example. Corporate material is essential, particularly for face-to-face meetings or when you attend events. So that's a pretty straightforward one. And finally, one thing that can easily be forgotten if you work in a small organization particularly is your employee communication. Your staff, even if you only have one, your staff are crucial to the success of your business. So they should really be taken into consideration in your communication plan. So now that you've got all the elements of a PR plan, let's have a look at what actually a communication plan or a PR plan looks like. Here's a template for you. So the first step is to write down your objective. So what you're trying to achieve, in other words, with this communication plan. Then you can write down what target market you're trying to reach out to achieve your objective, and what key message you want to use for that target market. Then in the table, in the channels column, you write what medium will you be targeting. Is it your local newspaper, Facebook, business group? And I'll give you an example of a filled-out communication plan in a minute. In terms of PR activities, it's what will you actually be doing? Will you announce your new service through a media release, seek a speaking engagement, develop a social media strategy? The tactics, what are each of the steps you need to take? For example, put the media list together, gather all the information, write the media release, send the media release, call the journalist. And who's going to be responsible for that to make sure that it actually happens? And when is it due by to make sure that it happens on time? So you can then write how you will evaluate your objective. For example, the amount of media coverage or the tone of each article like positive or negative tone, the number of social media fans, and so on and so forth. So let's have a look at an example I've put together for you. In this example, I'm an example I used before a few minutes ago, a well-being center. I'm called Wellbeing Health Center, and I offer meditation classes, particularly to working moms. My objective is to raise awareness of the health benefits of meditation among working moms in my community over the next 6 months. My target public is working moms between 30 and 45, living in and around my local community. My key message, what I want to get across to these working moms, is that Wellbeing Health Center, my business, offers a range of meditation classes specifically designed for working mothers to help improve their energy level, focus, patience, efficiency, and immune system. What do I want to do to achieve this objective? The first thing I'm thinking of is liaising with the media. And the activities I want to do is write an article on the benefits of meditation for women's magazines. Another activity I want to do is write a guest post on a popular blog for working moms. And I also want to organize a coffee catch-up with my local newspaper to see how I could get a bit more involved in a local newspaper. So in terms of the tactics I need to do, I've just taken the first activity as an example. I need to put the media list together, gather all the information I need, write the article, send the article, and then call a few key journalists to maybe offer them more information or images or an interview, for example. Who's responsible for that? Well, me. I have to do it myself, so that's fine. And my deadlines, because I want to make sure that it happens, and deadline for each activity or each tactic. Another channel I'd like to get into is Facebook, because there's a lot of working moms on Facebook, so that's a brilliant one to target. One of the activities I want to do is first create a Facebook page. And then I also want to run a competition. So my tactics for this first activity of creating a Facebook page: one, I want to sign up to Facebook because I'm not actually on Facebook yet. And then I want to research similar service pages. I want to know what other centers similar to mine are doing on Facebook so I can maybe find some ideas as well. Then I will develop a series of posts I could put up on my page for the first 2 weeks so that I'm really ready to go when I have my business page up and running. Then I will create my business page. And once all this is done and I've got a couple of posts on my page, I'll send an email to my clients, my friends, my family, to my whole database of contacts to invite them to like my page. And obviously, I will keep posting regularly and respond to comments. Now, who's responsible for this? Me, and I've also got my colleague Steve, who's a lot more social media savvy and who likes going on Facebook, so I thought I would involve him in that project. And then I have my deadlines as well that I want to stick to. Another channel I might like to use is organizing a free event. And my activity is a well-being seminar for working moms. And I've decided I would try to find a partner to organize this seminar to really add value to it, and so that I can reach out to a broader audience. My steps or tactics are: one, to identify the partners who could add value to my seminar and meet with them and discuss the details. Then we need to pick a date, a time and a location. And we need to organize our schedule for the event. Then I'll prepare an announcement for the local newspaper, because a lot of local newspapers have a calendar of events. And if you're holding a free event, they will most likely put your event in their pages. Then you might like to send an invitation to your database of contacts, and also create an event on Facebook, so you can invite people through Facebook to attend your event. And you will prepare your presentation and prepare a feedback form as well, because you want to get some feedback from your participants after the presentation. You'll also meet with your partners to rehearse. And then you send a reminder to your attendees about the event. And finally, obviously, you have a very successful event, and then you collect all the feedback from your attendees. And for this event, you would also have all the people responsible for each tactic and all the deadlines. Now, how are you going to evaluate this? I've just put some examples here. In terms of the media, it could be the number of articles published and the tone, so positive or negative, of each article. For Facebook, it could be the number of fans and the level of interaction on your Facebook page, seeing that the interactions are increasing day after day, and that the interactions are positive as well, that people are making positive comments. In terms of the free event, you might like to look at the quantity and the quality of media coverage to announce the seminar, the number of attendees, and the quality of feedback you've received on your feedback form. So that gives a bit of an example of a communication plan based on one objective, and you would obviously repeat this for each objective you have for your business. Once you have your communication plan, you might like to combine all your promotional activities in one document, like this one. So it's an Excel spreadsheet, similar to a Gantt chart, if you have heard of that term before. And on this spreadsheet, you see each week of the year, each activity, the task, the timeline, and who's responsible for what. So, for example, my new product media release has to be drafted, approved, distributed during weeks commencing 16th and 13th and 23rd of January. You might also like to put on this program specific campaigns you're running throughout the year. For example, if you have an autumn campaign coming up in March, or there may be some seasonal changes that affect your business. Say the start of winter is a peak period for you, so you might like to highlight winter in your calendar. And the reason why you do that as well is because media outlets, particularly magazines, have very long deadlines of 3 months. So you need to keep in mind that if you want to get in a magazine for your autumn campaign in March, you need to contact that magazine 3 months ahead of time. So it's really important to have a broad view of what's coming up in the year so you can plan in time. You might also like to add in this spreadsheet not only your public relations activities, but other marketing things that you're doing. If you're doing some direct mailing, for example, if you're attending some trade shows as well, if you're advertising. So really put everything there so you can have a really good look at what's coming up in your business. So that's essentially how you get a public relations plan together for your business. Some key points I'd like you to take into consideration. 1, have a plan. Otherwise, you're going to do everything on an ad hoc basis. You're going to miss out on opportunities, and you won't get the results you want to get. or actually you probably won't know what results you want to get, which isn't much better. So have a plan. Second key point, ask your loyal customers. If you have an idea, for example, of holding an event, but you're not sure if it's going to take off, ask your customers. Do a little survey. They're going to tell you. They're your customers, so they actually know what they want. So don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to try. You can only improve by trying different things. So get out there and try different things. And most importantly, monitor and adjust as needed. That's how you're going to find out what works and what doesn't work, and you can keep improving over time. So that's it for the main content of the webinar. I know it's a lot to take in, but hopefully I managed to get the main points across. Now, we all access a lot of very valuable information to help us grow or transform our businesses. But until we do anything with this information, it really only amounts to hot air. So what I'd really like you to do right now, each of you, is to pick one action point from this presentation you will commit to taking on board over the next week. I'll give you a few seconds to think about it and write it down. I hope everyone has found something. If you'd like to share your key point with me, your action point with me, I would be delighted to hear about it and hear about how you went in terms of implementing it. So you will see on the last slide my email address. Please feel free to email me and send me your action item, and I'll be more than happy to read and respond. Now, before we conclude, we have a few more webinars coming up, so I'd like to highlight them to you quickly. Next week, we have Generate Media Coverage for Your Business. So we will look at how you can identify a newsworthy story in your organization, how you should liaise with the media, and how to write a media release. The following week, on the 15th of February, we will cover the essential components of a great website. So how can you make sure your customers come back to your website? What are the basics important in a website? On the 29th of February, I'll discuss LinkedIn as a business tool. How can you make the most of it? If you are not on LinkedIn, or if you're on LinkedIn but really not really on LinkedIn because you only have a basic profile and it's probably not complete, or you don't know how to use it, this webinar is ideal for you. And finally, on the 7th of March, I will look at Facebook and Twitter and how you can use them for your business. So all these webinars are held from 12 o'clock to 1 p.m. Sydney time. These 4 webinars are $95 plus GST each, or you can buy the whole package of 4 and save $45. And all the details are on our website. So you can go to www.drpr.com.au. Thank you very much for your attendance today. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact me via Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or email. There's no shortage of means to get in touch with me. Now, when this webinar closes, you will be redirected to a short questionnaire. So I would really appreciate you taking 2 minutes of your time to answer the 5 questions and give me your feedback on this presentation. On this, I wish you all a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.